Good morning, everyone. I'll be the one to discuss the first part of our topic, El Filibusterismo, continuing relevance. Rizal wrote this novel to describe the Philippine society and expose the injustices that he and his fellow Filipinos experience. Reform, improvement or change to a better state, social, economic, and political institutions. So reform is pagbago. Revolution, violent attempt to overthrow a government. So this is usually happens kung dili naganahan ang mga tao sa pabalakad sa gobyerno. Then principally, the ruling and usually educated upper class in the 19th century. So sa Binisaya pa is mga kwartahan sa unang panahon ni Dr. Jose Rizal. 120 years after Rizal's execution, his writing remains socially relevant. So even after sa iyang execution up to now, relevant gyapon or nagyapon importansya niya novel. The ills that he rallied against, inept leadership, corruption, abuse of women, and the influence of the Catholic Church over political and social affairs are still persisting in the Philippine society today. So ang mga nahitabo sa una karon, like mga abusar sa mga kababayan is ning exist gyapon or nangahitabo gihapon bisan sa karon nga panahon. As with No Limitang Here, Rizal's main objective in writing El Filibusterismo is to expose the Philippine situation as he witnessed during his time. In reading this novel, one can see the nation past and present situation, which make this literary work enduringly significant. So, mao ni sida. Renato Constantino, 1971, page 137, wrote about the relevance of Rizal's teachings, the applicability to present-day problems, and their inspirational value. So, there is magamit gyapon hangtod sa karon ng novel din na inspirational value. Rizal holds a mirror to our faces and we see ourselves, our vices, our defects, our meanness. Because the conditions he describes are the very conditions we see around us, and the characters he portrays are people we continue meet and we readily to his earnest desire for basic changes in our society and in ourselves. One hand holds a mirror to shame us and the other points the way to our generation. Yet the truth is that the mirror was not meant to reveal our image, but the time of the people and society of Rizal's time. So makita nimo diri sa El Filibusterismo nga si Dr. Jose Rizal, ijang gipang portray mga characters nga makita gyapon nato.
Il-Fili can be used to evaluate Rizal's views and ideas on different social issues. In the novel, Simon is the filibustero who encourages the Principalya class to abuse poor people so that latter would be driven to revolt against the government. So, akaning si Simon is usa ni si Jaka filibustero nga nag-encourage sa mga Principalya class which is kaning mga dato nga i-abuse sa kaning mga poor people kay aron sa wahi is itaboy ni sila laban sa pag-aalsa sa government. His character may be interpreted to someone who represent the Filipino revolutionaries that supported the idea of a bloody revolution against the Spanish colonial government. Simon's death in the story made some readers conclude that Rizal was against the idea of revolution. So, ang kaning pagkamatay ni Simons is na-conclude ni siya nga kaning si Rizal is against siya about sa revolution. Simon's felt uprisings in the narrative were interpreted as Rizal's abhorrence of violence and bloodshed. They failed to see that Rizal, together with other reformists like Marcelo H. del Pilar, regarded reform and assimilation as a first step towards Philippine independence.
In his letter to Blumentritt on June 19, 1887, he said, I assure you that I have no desire to take part in conspiracies, which seems to me every premature and risky. But if the government drives us to the brink, that is to say, when no other hope remains but seek our destructions in war, when the Filipinos will refer to death, die, rather than endure their misery and any longer, when I will also become a patient of violence means. The choice of peace and destruction is the hands of Spain, because it is a clear fact known at all that we are patient and peaceful, mild, unfeeling, and etc. But everything ends in this life. There is nothing internal in the world, and that refers also to our patient. Results word in the aforementioned letter are significant because they prove that he has not against the ideas of violence of necessary if violence if necessary. Historian Ambeno Ocampo 2018 wrote Simon failed not because Rizal was against the revolution, but because he reflected on the angry and bitterness in his heart because the agrarian dispute in Calamba, and realized that the one must start with a good intention to succeed.
On leadership and governance, El Feliz message the NF leaders, corrupt officials, and system of the government in the Philippines would lead to Spain's downfall. Rizal himself was admired as a good leader. He showed a kind of leadership that was not motivated by personal interest. Rizal also criticized his fellow Filipinos who did not respond to the challenges under the abusive leadership of the Spaniards. So, ang mensahe sa El Feli, ang mga korap nga mga namalakad sa gobyerno o ang sistema nga nasa gobyerno pwede ikabagsak sa Espanya. Rizal is also admired as a good leader himself. Nagpakita pud siya og leadership nga dili tungod nakapaingon sa personal interest. So gi-criticize pud ni ang mga kapwa Pilipino niya tungod sa ilarang gipasagdan ang mao nga pagpangabusar sa Espanya sa dihang gisakop nila ang Pilipinas o gipasagdan ra nila. Rizal also challenged the Filipinos to guard their rights as one of their main responsibilities. Good leadership and governance bring about social, economic, and political reforms in the country. He questioned the students' advocacy and said, "What will you be in the future? A people without a character? A nation without liberty? Everything in you will be borrowed, even your very defects. You are asking to be Hispanized, and you do not blush with shame when it is denied you. Even if it is conceded, what would you want? What would you gain? At best, to become a country of pronouncements, a country of civil wars, like public. Why do you come with your teaching of Spanish, a pretension that would be ridiculous were it not for its deplorable consequences? Do you wish to add another idiom to the more than 40 already spoken in the islands, so that you may understand each other, each time, less? So ngano ning ariman mo sa isla o para mag-teach sa inyong Espanyol, para maingnan lamang mo nga nagka sinabot mo ug nibisan pa og 40 na kabuok nga sinultihan nila diri ang ilang gigamit ang dadugangan pagado ninyo.
Still about the language issue, Simon added, "You allow yourselves to be misled by big words, and you never get to the bottom of things to examine the effects in their ultimate manifestations. Spanish will never be the common language in the country. The people will never speak it because for the ideas of its mind and the sentiment of its hearts, there are no words in that idiom. What will you gain with Spanish? The few who speaks. To stamp out your originality, subordinate your thoughts to other minds, and instead of making yourselves free, make yourselves truly slaves. 9 of 10 of those among who presume to be enlightened are regardless to your motherland. Those among you who speak that language are indifferent to their own tongue, so much they neither write nor understand it. So, si Simon said that Spanish will never be the common language in the Philippines because it is not native language of the majority of the Filipinos. He believed that language is deeply rooted in the culture and identity, and exposing Spanish as the common language would undermine the rich linguistic diversity of the country.
On the Filipino youth, words of Jose Rizal through the character of Padre Florentino, a patriotic Filipino priest in El Fili. Where are the youth who will consecrate their golden hours, their illusions, and their enthusiasm for the welfare of their country? Where are they who would generously shed their blood to wash away so much shame, so much crime, so much abomination? Pure and spotless the victim has to be for the Holocaust to be acceptable. Where are you, youth who will incarnate in yourselves the vigor of life that has fled from our veins, the purity of ideas that have been soiled in our minds, and the fire of enthusiasm that has been in our hearts? We wait for you, O youth. Come, from me, await you. The important role of the youth in challenging the government, as seen in the efforts of students like Basilio and Isagani to organize themselves and unite to call or reforms.
So that's all for today, and thank you for listening to our discussion with our topic El Filibusterismo, continuing relevance, and goodbye.